Hey, security peeps. We are back with another edition of Break Security. I am Renee Small, cybersecurity super recruiter, demystifying cybersecurity careers for the month of October, which is Cybersecurity Awareness Month. And today we have our infamous Dr. Dan, who's on a Mondays. Infamous. Say hi to everybody, Dan.
How's everybody? You see my picture in the post office when you go into the post office.
Dan, people call me, they reach out and they're like, yeah, we love Dan. So Dan, it's like you have your own thing going here. So it's fun to have you back after, I don't know how many weeks at this point. It's been what, 6 months?
Almost 6 months. Yeah, 6 months. And it seems like we just started yesterday.
It does. It truly does. But people are still stressed out. People are still struggling. And so I know you and I were talking, and we talk about people in transition and the various challenges that they've had and some of your clients. And our kickoff question for today is going to be, how do you prepare to compete?
It's a great question because we thought of it, but the question it really is, what do you do to prepare to compete? What tools do you bring to the workplace? What does your A game look like? And how do you make sure that you've ramped it up to your A game? And so the question is, Renee and I have talked for years about everybody having a toolbox. So when you think about transitioning, you want to make sure that you have all the tools that you need in that toolbox to do whatever you're preparing to do to help somebody protect their company from being penetrated or being damaged to a degree that costs people a lot of money, emotion, and reputation. One of the things is that we talked, and I've used it. I don't know who sent it in, but I want to thank them. We said to them, what do you need to do? What keeps you up at night? And somebody said, well, nothing. I sleep like a baby. I sleep for 2 hours, then I get up and cry. Then I sleep another 2 hours and I cry. And I sleep another 2 hours and I cry. But what's not happening there is the CEO of the company is not up crying at night. So what do you do? What do you really provide for somebody? What do you do for someone that helps them to conduct that part of the business? Now, we know we've talked a lot about people who really are at risk and don't know it. It's like a kid running out in the street between cars. They're not aware of the danger. You are. And so I think a lot of CISOs want to just scream to people, hey, wake up. But there's a couple of dynamics in what I help people do based on who they're talking to. It's not a blanket pre-canned process, but when you can identify what penetration of the company means to an individual, you can market yourself based on that basis. But I have run into for years people who are really, really good at what they do and don't know it. They don't know what they do well. Everybody on this call knows way more than they know that they know. But putting that into a package, putting that into a toolbox that you carry with you, then requires you to be able to persuade and influence somebody that what you do, that they need what they do. We talked about that a couple of weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
How do you let them know they need you? Well, it can only be done by stories in some cases. So, what happens? I had a client who had a business in Australia, and they found after a period of time that somebody was trying to steal the company. And they found out just by paying attention, not to what they normally did, but what they needed to do differently. So it's talking differently, listening differently, and not living on a bunch of myths that people are operating on today.
What do you think is the fastest way for someone to understand the myths, or to not be caught up in myths. Like, so to your point, you said myths in particular, and we talk about this often.
Sure.
And so it may be a myth, but they believe it as truth.
Right. And that's because it's frequently reinforced by people who don't look at it from a different direction.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you do that? Frankly, it involves what Reginald says, having salesman skills. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I believe that. It's having sales skills, knowing what somebody needs to do, knowing how to persuade and influence. But to do that, you really need to know what's important to the person you're talking to. Is the person you're talking to the person who has to sell your idea up within a company, or sell you up within a company? And for people who know, I mean, cybersecurity to me is a mystery. You know, there's a lot of stuff that you guys know that most people don't even think about. So how do you get somebody to think about what's really important? How do you don't talk softly to the kid who's running out in the street. You yell at him and you grab him by the scruff of the neck and pull him in from between the cars. It's nice to be gentle, but not when somebody's life is in danger or their company. So how do we play this out? It's different for everybody. There's no two situations that anybody on this call is dealing with that are the same as somebody else's. It's all different. Everyone is different. But when you know the tools that you have in your toolbox and where they apply, it becomes important to do that. So you may be a great salesman, but the point is that how do you persuade and influence somebody psychologically? A lot of people go in with their product. They sell their product. They sell their solution. We have a solution for you. Well, I believe it's important, and it's proven to me with a lot of the people I deal with. Some people work with me privately to put this mistakes list together, and it might sound crazy, but there are mistakes that your clients have made, your previous clients, places you worked for before, that they made before you ever got there. It had nothing to do with you. This is not mistakes you've made. This is mistakes other people have made, and what those mistakes cost them in money, emotion, and reputation. And my belief is the more you can get yourself into the position strategically to sell the mistakes, the easier it is to get somebody's mind to change, and do it in a way that you can embed commands in language. I mean, you can have somebody think about what you want them to think about when you want them to think about it, when you construct the introduction correctly.
Right.
And it has little to do with your product at that point. It has to do with what you want to accomplish. So if you're a vendor, you're trying to sell a product, how do you differentiate yourself from your competition? I don't know until I see the whole situation. Basically, that's what I do. I work with individuals and companies on figuring this stuff out.
Right.
So that you have a memorable presentation that people will think about when you're not there.
So Dan, you had some example. You typically, we've talked about the clients that you've had in the past and being able to provide them with helping to define the mistakes. I know in the past you have people from all different walks of life that come to you. Are there any mistakes that you can share that would give these folks here an example of the types of mistakes people have made prior to bring their client bringing them on?
Sure. People, one of the biggest issues that we've talked about this before is questions. People have a lot of questions. And when somebody has a question, usually, I don't know why this happens, but they always seem to ask the person who can't help them. They ask for public opinion, they ask for this, but people can't help them. And so it's having the right questions. I think that with what I've learned about cybersecurity and working with some professionals in this field, that they have to be asking the right questions. So it's helping the person know what questions they need to ask.
Got it. Okay. So helping them understand what questions they need to ask. And then when they find out, or when they develop the mistakes list, without diving deep, what's next? Because I feel like people have reached out to me behind the scenes and they say they want to call you, and I don't know why they don't. I don't know. I guess you're intimidating them, Dan.
Am I really?
I don't know what's going on. They're like, I really should call Dan. I'm like, you really should. So in your,
let's come back to what we talked about with the myths. And these are some of the mistakes that people make. The mistake is believing that the system that you're employing to move forward is valid and been validated, but really it's a myth. One is people talk about their 30-second elevator pitch. They're talking about, oh my God, I have to get my 30-second elevator pitch together. And I'm waiting for a call back from a guy who came on a call with me and started telling me all about his business, every aspect of his business, put me to sleep. So I said, that's okay, but if you want to get your message across to somebody, you have to really tighten it up, and it has to be structured based on who you're talking to. So the 30-second elevator pitch is a myth, because I believe psychologically you only have 6 seconds. And you have to deal with what gets in your way of persuading somebody that they need to work with you. Well, they may be embarrassed not to know all the stuff you're talking about, or they may be intimidated by you. People think that today in marketing, you have to talk about the features and benefits of what you're doing for somebody. But that's not the way the brain works. People need to think about the way somebody's brain works. And it works on basis of skepticism, reactance, and inertia. They're skeptical about what you're going to say, and skeptical can either work for somebody or against them. Reactance is they don't want to be sold. And inertia is all the things they need to do to change from what they're doing to somebody else. So what I say to people about skepticism is, I said, I'm going to give you some strategies here. I'm going to expect you to be skeptical, but I want you to control the skepticism. I want you to put a date on the calendar for December 15th and try everything I'm going to show you up until that time, and then become skeptical then. The other thing is that working backwards is critical. This is not goal setting, but everybody I work with today is in 2025 working backwards. It's much easier to close a prospect on your sale or on your services if you can close them in 2025 than it is in 2020 or 2021.
Yeah.
Because people don't want to be out there looking backwards, wishing they did something. What gets in their way? Black swans, stuff that they don't expect to come in. And that's really what the penetration is for somebody with cybersecurity. And what if people who are entertaining and retaining you don't realize what the risks are? I mean, this is not screaming fire in a crowded theater. This is real stuff. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people wing it. They're winging their presentation.
Right.
They're not taking whatever their product or their services is and tailoring it to the people they're talking to.
So Dan, a couple comments here. Reginald says, hit him with the wow factor and have him wanting more information. So it's a little bit about what you talked about. And then Roger says 6 seconds when you talk about the 30-second elevator pitch, when you say, you only have 6 seconds.
Yeah. Well, I think that's getting, one of the things that I do is I have an individual personal profile that I will send to anybody who sends me an email and asks for it. And what it does, it helps you profile the person you're talking to. What is it that they need to have happen? How they communicate with you? What makes sense? And again, it comes back to what Reginald said before, that it's a wow factor. I believe the wow factor has to come back and say, what's going to happen? What's possibility if I don't hire Reginald, what could possibly happen if I don't listen to him? And you don't have to talk about yourself. You can talk about other companies, other situations you've been involved in.
Or other situations that you've seen.
Seen, exactly.
Right.
And, a lot of people are winging it. They go in with their presentation. They just wing their presentation. And winging works until the bar gets raised. And sometimes the bar gets raised and you don't see it. Or what really is in the way. I mean, you might have a great presentation, a great concept, but there's some person that's in the way that you either threaten or, I'll give you an example. I just was talking to a company and they were trying to recruit a guy into this business group. And he was hemming and hawing about, should I do it or not? And I said to my friend, why don't you just put him in charge of something? Well, the minute he put him in charge of something, the guy came right on board because he could run a part of the operation he wanted to. And what's not working within a company, it's hard to figure it out sometimes. But see, there's the cybersecurity talent that's necessary to do that job. But that's not all that's involved. It's like, my professional football players will work on the on-field performance, but what gets in the way as much as anything else is the media. So they need to deal with the media. Media has nothing to do with football, except they need to do it. They need to figure how to do that. You have kids that are getting ready to go to school and college, and their grades aren't what they should be, and parents say, study, 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 study. My approach was different. I said to the kid, I said, your parents don't make any difference here. He said, well, who makes a difference? I said, the college coach that wants to recruit you now but doesn't know that you can stay eligible. See, I think that you folks all look beyond where you are. And I said to Renee, and I said to Chris when he was on a call, you may look like you're here, but you're not here. You're someplace else. And you have to be in this business. You have to be somewhere else. So the person you're talking to is in 2020 sitting behind their desk. And what they don't want is to be looking backwards in 2025, wishing they used you. So how do you get somebody quickly from 2020 out to 2025? Use this language. Say, imagine for a moment that I give you a magic wand and you wave it, and you're in 2025. Tell me what it looks like. What does it look like?
So powerful.
So now all of a sudden what you've done, it looks like a very simple statement, but you've given a person permission to do something they usually don't have permission to do. You've given a person permission to dream. This is not goal setting. Don't give me goals for 2025. Tell me what your imagination tells you about 2025. I just got off the phone with a guy who's a golfer, and we talked about playing his home course tonight with his eyes closed, seeing every shot he makes and empowering his subconscious mind to move in that direction when he needs to. And a lot of this stuff, Renee, and everybody that's listening, is invisible. I've had 3 people today ask me how they could use this hypnotic strategy I have to improve their performance in their stress management. And all somebody needs to do is go on my Calendly, call and make an appointment to talk to me. First consultation is free.
It's easy. It's easy. And the hypnotic strategy it's unbelievable. It just takes you to a whole completely different place. In your head.
It teaches you how to take yourself to a whole different place.
Yes, it does.
This gives you the power to do what you need to do when you need to do it, to control your stress and manage it.
Correct.
So it's not an accident that it happens, believe me.
Man, these people, Roger and Reginald just said, wow. They're saying, wow. And I can say that that's how I felt when I first met you and started working with you, and had you work with some of the clients that I've had and what have you over the years, because it is true. You know, language, Roger says 6 words matter. The language that's used, being able to influence without authority is a big one. You know, Reginald says, how do you recover from the no?
Well, it really, I would wonder whether you anticipated the no before you got it. Because if you knew, I'm not saying it's your fault that you got the no, but I mean, the classic sales response to a no is try to rack up as many no's as you possibly can. No, 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 because after a no, there's got to be a yes. But the question is, what is a no? Does the person really understand what you're proposing? Do they have the ability to understand? Are you talking to a recruiter or an interviewer who doesn't really understand what the person who's seeking your help needs? Renee and I have run into that for years. That there were recruiters, interviewers who had no idea what the guy at the top needed. So it becomes, so recovering from the no it's lining up as many possibilities. And I would have to know more about what you're talking about with how do you recover from the no. I mean, right after no, you could say next. But again, if you're winging it and just going in the traditional way to get a position or to transition, that's probably not the most effective way to do it. And I will guarantee and tell you that the people who are using what I do will never tell you about it. I had a client yesterday who talked about a family business and stuff that he was involved in and people he needed to persuade and influence. And as we were finishing the call, I said, just to let you know, this call never happened. We never had this discussion. He said, good. And that's what people want to know. We never had this discussion.
Right.
Because there are people who have questions they want to ask, and they always seem to ask the person who can't help them. They ask that, you know, it's like I worked with a patent attorney, and I said to him, I think that what you should do is you should get a T-shirt that says, don't talk to anybody. You get an idea, you get an invention, you get a concept, don't talk to anybody. I mean, is it something valuable enough that you want to protect it? What do you need to do here?
Right.
So, but each situation is different.
Dan, you made a point about something that I know comes up often especially when I hear from vendors a lot of the times, is not being able to not talking to the right person, or not knowing that they need to get to a certain particular person. And they may think that one person is the decision-making factor, but it's somebody else completely different.
Right. Well, I have a way for anybody who's in a sales position, who's going in as a vendor to try to sell into a company, who has run up against every possible gatekeeper, who's trained and paid to keep you out, keep you away, not to give you any information, not to give you any access to anybody. That's their job, and they are really good at it. But there's a way to go right past it without a bump in the road. And that way is by using this golf program that I have. I need to go plug this in. Hang on just a minute.
Well, I could talk a little bit about it. I've never been to the golf program, but Dan has a golf in the mind game program that he's been running for years. And you end up taking strokes off your golf game without touching a club. And it's all It is all to help and, refocus the mind. As you know, Dan is all about mindset. Dan, you want to jump back in?
Yeah. So here is the situation, is that I just got off the phone with a guy who said to me, golfers will pay anything to improve their golf game. Who are the golfers in a company? The CEOs, the people on the C-level, the people who use golf to entertain your clients, to develop business on a golf course. And there are people who are shut out of that, people who don't play golf. Well, this completely takes that piece out, because on November 5th, we're doing a program at 4:30 in the afternoon to guarantee golfers 3 to 6 strokes off their golf game without touching a club. You may not play golf, but you may be trying to get into a company who plays golf. The guy who's battling to keep you out is probably not the golfer, but the guy who owns the company is. So what would happen if you could bypass everybody and get right to the top decision maker within the company? So let me tell you how this is going to work on November 5th. We already have 75 people registered for this program. Nobody says no to coming. Everybody who's using it is using to entertain their client. So they're going to call a guy they know, company they're trying to get into, and they invite the CEO. The factor here is there's no business pitches at this program at all. Nobody is going to pitch any business to anybody. So that will allow the people that you're inviting to bring other people with you. Now, this may not be for you who you're on this call, but there may be somebody in your company that wants to talk to me about this. And the best part about this, it has 4 letters involved in it, FREE. It's free. Nobody has to pay to do this because it's sponsored by somebody. Now, you may have a company who wants to sponsor this and get in front of these 75. We're probably going to have about 180 people by the time we get finished with registering people. But if you contact me and just put golf in the subject bar of the email, I will send you back the invitations, both to register for yourself, to give it as a gift to somebody else. If your wife plays golf, and if she belongs to a country club, or you want to get to that level of people, this is the way to do it, because nobody says no to this program. And I'll tell you how, when you call up a gatekeeper and you start to talk to the gatekeeper about your product, whatever it happens to be, or your service, whatever it happens to be, they are trained to say no, except if you mention the word golf. If you mention the word golf, and if the C-suite plays golf, they will never hang the phone up on you. So, and this is a way to try it out. Since it's free, you don't have to pay for it.
Right.
Run it in there and try it out and see what happens.
Yeah.
Give me a call and I'll be happy to send you the information.
You know what, Dan? I'm going to post that up while we're here, since we have like only a couple minutes left. But I think this is a good way to end by posting this up.
Do you have the links there?
Is it Golf in the Mind Game?
Yeah, but I'll send you the whole link where you can register right on the call.
Okay.
Okay. So wait until we get off, then I can get on my screen here and send it up to you.
Okay. Cool.
And once again, you have my phone, 15-minute free call to tell me what's going on, what you need to have happen, and I'll see how I can help you.
Right.
You can. What I send you will also have my Calendly link in it. Just set up a Calendly link.
Oh, Dan, this is fantastic. I was trying to send it while I'm here, but like you said, I'll just wait for you to provide the link, the exact link. Yeah, we'll wait for you to provide the exact link. So, folks, it's Dan once again. The program is the Golf in the Mind Game program. Right, Dan?
Yep.
And
November 5th in the afternoon at 4:30, and it's free.
November 5th in the afternoon, 4:30, and free. Everyone's favorite word.
And you can offer that to anybody in your company who plays, anybody who has family who play. But the fact is nobody will ever close the door in your face if you're talking about golf.
That is the truth. That is very, very true, Dan. So Dan, thank you so much for being here today.
See you next week.
We will be back next week, folks. If you have any questions, I will put the link in the comments and in the chat afterwards. But definitely come bring your questions, and we will be back next week with another Breaking into Cybersecurity and Mondays with Dan. So take care, everybody.
Thank you.
Okay, bye.